All right, grade 6, for today's lesson, we actually are not going to be doing a lesson in the textbook. We're going to spend some time now that we've learned about the least common multiple and greatest common factor. We're going to spend some time reviewing and doing some extra practice of these concepts because they are really important for fractions and also because they are very easily confused. So we're just going to spend some extra time making sure that we for sure know the difference between them and what they are for. All right. So I'm going to give you an example of each of them, which we have learned before, so this shouldn't be new. This is review, but I am going to point out why it might be a little bit confusing and why you might get them mixed up. Okay, so we're going to start with the least common multiple. Now, least common multiple is used for finding common denominators. Okay, so first let's find the least common multiple between 6 and 8. So remember, multiple should make you think multiplying. So you should take the original number and multiply it by 1. So 6 times 1 is 6, 6 times 2 is 12, and you keep going and multiplying that number, or you could think just like skip counting, counting by 6s. 6, 12, 18, 24, 30. Okay, so those are the multiples of 6. And they do the same thing for 8. 8, 16, 24. I can stop there because look, I have a matching multiple between those two numbers. All right, so the LCM of 6 and 8 is 24. And the reason that we find the LCM between those two numbers is because we need to, sometimes with fractions, make two fractions have a common denominator, make them have the same bottom number. So once you know the least common multiple, you know that your fraction, or both of your fractions really, are going to have 24 as the denominator. So all you have to do is convert your original fractions into equivalent fractions with 24s as the denominator. So you remember you do that by multiplying. 6 times 4 gets you a 24, which means you have to multiply by 4 here, and you get 4 over 24. 8 you have to multiply by 3 to get 24, so we multiply the top by 3 as well, and we have 3 24ths. Okay, so least common multiple used for finding common denominators. All right, next let's look at GCF, or greatest common factor. That is used to simplify fractions. Okay, so now instead of finding common denominators, we are taking a fraction, one fraction, and we are simplifying. We're putting it in lowest terms. All right, so for factors, now instead of listing multiples, we have to think of two numbers that you could multiply together to get the original number. So we always start with 1 and the number itself. 1 and 6 multiply together to get 6. And then because I chose pretty low numbers, we don't have that many factors. 2 and 3 multiply together to get 6. Okay, same thing with 8. We start with the number and 1, and then we think to ourselves, well, 2 times 4 gets us an 8 as well. Okay, now the greatest common factor then, which is really the only common factor for this one, is 2. Okay, and then you take that greatest common factor and you divide your numerator and your denominator by it until you get to 3/4 or 3/4, and that fraction is simplified. We have divided it as far as it can go. Now, the reason that I think that people get these two concepts mixed up is because if you look at this top box here, they look very similar, right? We've got two numbers, we've got lists of numbers behind them. Here we've got two numbers, we've got lists of numbers behind them. But in those lists, we are doing different things and we're using them for different purposes as well. Okay, so you're not doing any work in your textbook today. You have a handout that should have come home with your drive-through stuff. It's titled LCM/GCF Practice. I would like you to complete that handout where you're going to do some more practicing of these two things, and hopefully that's going to help you really stick in your mind what these two concepts are, and hopefully you can really differentiate between them to know their different uses and to be able to keep them straight in your head. And as always, if you have questions, please chat with me. I am ready to help you.